You can manage 2 minutes of small talk about the weather, but sitting across from a table, knowing you have to keep an English conversation going for an entire hour, triggers a specific kind of panic. It is the dread of dead air, the moment when the polite questions run out, the topics dry up, and you are left staring at a coffee cup in an awkward, heavy silence. When native speakers or fluent learners talk for an hour, they are not randomly pulling words from an encyclopedic vocabulary. Fluency over long durations relies on a recognizable, repeatable, and engineered conversational framework. This architecture consists of 3 layers: the micro level for basic connections, the mid-level where stories live, and the macro level that governs the overall pacing. Approaching a 60-minute English conversation through these 3 layers makes the interaction feel constructed and entirely manageable. The ground floor of fluency exists in the mundane: ordering coffee or waiting at a bus stop. These everyday exchanges provide the foundational rhythm of the language. In both written dialogue and spoken English, every statement must sound realistic and move the interaction forward. You ask a question, the other person responds, and the interaction maintains its momentum. These brief interactions act as the connective tissue for everything else. They are the quick bridges that link totally different topics together. To keep those bridges intact, speakers use conversational filler words. Words like basically or actually bridge the gaps between thoughts without breaking the flow of the dialogue. Strategic pausing acts as spoken punctuation. A slight hesitation gives both people time to process, ensuring the exchange feels natural rather than rehearsed. Mastering these rhythmic micro-exchanges prevents a conversation from stalling out before it ever reaches deeper territory. Once you are past the introductions, the dynamic shifts. You settle into a park bench or a sofa, and the environment moves from basic questions into engaged storytelling. Sustaining an hour of dialogue requires a pivot. You have to move away from rapid-fire small talk and share a personal experience. This transition relies on signal phrases, like "that reminds me," triggering a storytelling loop. Inside, simple past tense drives the action, while past continuous provides background context. Sequential markers, first, then, finally, keep the listener oriented. Properly structured storytelling creates depth and length. It is the primary core muscle that carries the weight of a long conversation. Managing the macro dynamics of an interaction requires observing the other person. You are looking for cues that tell you how the conversation is being received. Physical cues dictate the next move. If they lean in and ask, "And then what happened?" they are hooked. If they start looking at their watch, they are losing interest and the pacing needs to change. This pacing curve maps how dialogue follows a sequence, moving from greeting to introduction, peaking during activation, and tapering to wrap up. Phrases like, "Can you believe that?" provide a controlled descent back to baseline, avoiding a sudden stop. Monitoring the listener and consciously steering the dialogue through these 4 phases prevents conversational fatigue over a 60-minute span. A 60-minute interaction is rarely spent on a single continuous stream of new information. An hour is a linked chain of 12 5-minute micro-conversations and stories placed back to back. Micro-level small talk serves as the joints, with brief comments and filler words locking those larger 5-minute modules together. Conversational fluency comes from practicing these structural mechanics rather than attempting to memorize a dictionary. Combining connective small talk, structured storytelling, and active pacing allows you to step out of your comfort zone and initiate extended dialogues. Understanding the anatomy of a conversation replaces the fear of dead air with the ability to connect naturally for an hour or more.